What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knicks Community. I haven't had an episode since January, and what a great way to come back with none other than Poppa Left. How you doing, man?
What's going on, Knicks community? I'm here. I'm living this post-mortem Knicks playoff existence, but you know what I mean. It's a bright future for us. So we're seeing the Hawks doing damage to the Sixers. So maybe it wasn't that bad, guys. Maybe something was going on with that Atlanta team. But
Yeah, man.
doing good.
What was your whole experience like of round one against the Hawks? Because I know you were interviewing fans outside after every game.
Well, I went to game one. The game one felt like a pilgrimage of some sort. Like I couldn't. It felt sacrilegious to not go. So I think main takeaway, I can say I was there for the R.J. Barrett dunk on Bogdan. That was just incredible. It was so loud in there. It was loud for the Obi dunk. It was loud for R.J.'s dunk. And I was outside game two with the party outside of Madison Square Garden, which was insane. And it just felt like there were two parts of the series. It felt like the energy of game one and game two felt like we were going to, at the very least, push it to game seven or win the series. You know, I wasn't on the Knicks in five train because I respect the Hawks and they have shooters pretty much at every position, scorers at every position, and they have the best player in the series. But you know, it just felt like we were the more physical team. It felt like we could play our game in games one and two. And then, you know, just from being down in Atlanta, it was tough. It was a rough weekend for me in Atlanta. But Knicks fans tried and true throughout, very positive perspective on another level that I've never seen from a majority of the Knicks fan base. So, you know, it was you know, there was people who were upset at Julius Randle. There were people who felt Thibodeau could have made adjustments. But the consensus after it was all over, I feel like from the fans on the street after game five, I feel like Knicks fans, as dejected and as frustrating as a watch those games 3, 4, and 5 were, I felt like people understood the trajectory of the franchise was fast tracked on a level that none of us expected.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was at every home game for that whole series. So, you know,
Right.
I feel like it was kind of like a journey for me. You know, like game one, I sat like right behind the Knicks bench, and then
Wow.
games 2 and 5, like I was literally right behind the Hawks bench.
Mhm.
So like game 2, I was right next to Trae Young's dad, which was like,
Wow.
you know, I mean, absolutely crazy. I brought bird posters to that game. I mean, the whole 9 yards, you know. So I mean, it
Right.
was really interesting to see, like, you know, the mentality of Trae Young and his dad, because they're very similar. Like they just block out all of the noise of MSG. I mean, you can have 15,000 people chanting "F you" to your kid, and you're just, you know, so you know, just
Right.
composed and just like not showing any emotion, which was, you know,
Right.
really interesting. And you know, I feel like now, like since like we lost to the Hawks and we're seeing them against Philly, like you really can see like how much shooters they have and how much, you know, firepower.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's just like I feel like with that series, you know, like I personally just think it came down to mentality. Like you look at Trae Young, like Clint Capella. I say this on everywhere I go now. Like Clint Capella wasn't saying I'm going to send the Knicks on vacation during the regular season. You know, like once Trae Young had that mentality going, then that just carried over with the rest.
They're a West Coast style team playing in the Eastern Conference. You know what I mean? They got shooters pretty much at every position, and off the bench they have reinforcements between Lou Williams coming in for Trae Young. A guy makes two moves and he's either drawing a 3-point foul or he's hitting a shot. Gallo can score 1-on-1. Bogdan is lethal, quick release. Herder can create off the dribble drive. Capella obviously and Collins can finish off a 2-on-1. So Trae Young, you know, for the most part, is going to be the best pure scorer on the court unless he's playing the Nets. You know what I mean? In the Eastern Conference. So um, I felt like people were asking if Embiid is healthy, then the Sixers are going to win, and if Embiid is not healthy, the Hawks can make it a series. I gained some Hawks followers from the series against the Hawks, so we've been talking in the DMs. And one of my guys, I was telling him, I was like, Hawks are going to win 2 games based off the fact that they can shoot. You know what I mean? So the Sixers are a very good defensive-minded team, and they have mismatches in the physicality department. But they can hit lulls. We saw in the regular season against the Sixers. We held our own. We had a game that was blown by officiating at the Garden, but even on the road, we were 1 possession away from beating the Sixers. So as good as Ben Simmons and Embiid and Tobias Harris and those guys are, it's a 3-point shooting league. If you hit a lot of threes, you get up early, guys start to get out of their game in their half-court game. The Hawks can definitely steal a few games, and they could potentially steal a series. And if Embiid is not healthy, the Hawks they could be looking at the Eastern Conference Finals. But it's a long series. I haven't watched any of it. I've seen the score, so I was like, all right, maybe people overanalyze how how poorly we played.
Yeah, for sure. I only watched like the highlights on Twitter. I mean, I was just out playing basketball with my guys today, and like it's just like, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see like if Embiid's going to be healthy, because it's kind of like, we needed Mitchell Robinson so badly in this series, and it's like if Philly doesn't have Embiid, I feel like it's going to go very similarly to how the Hawks played us. I mean, just you can't.
You gotta defend the pick and roll, and if you don't have people who can switch and follow, you saw what happened with the Nets and the Bucks last night. When you get a team scrambling and they can't hold their own in their one-on-one integrity, you can't scramble against a team that can shoot. You can't. You're gonna leave somebody wide open, and that's pretty much what the problem the Knicks ran into. Whether it was Trae Young going north and south, finding a lob or finding a corner 3. And my guy, Anthony Donahue, was saying on, one of the biggest Knicks fans, out there, he was saying on Twitter, it's like they are so good at quieting a crowd with timely shots. It felt like every time that the Knicks were on a run to cut the lead, it was Bogdan hitting a 3. It was Trae Young getting a quick floater. It was a lob to Capella. Even in game 2, remember in game 2, we were up and we had all the momentum in the world. Yeah. And they tied the game. Mm-hmm. A lot of people may have forgotten about that. And also in game 1, we had a 7-point lead with a 3-pointer that we could have made to make the lead to 10. But they erased that with Lou Williams at the end of the 3rd quarter. So when you can shoot, you can always shoot your way out of the game, but you always shoot yourself into it. So Hawks are a dangerous team. At the end of the day, I feel like teams need to trust their one-on-one assignment with the Hawks. If Trae Young's going to put up 40, let him put up 40. But you can't let this guy pick and choose how he wants to operate on the court. You got to be a little bit more physical with him. But no one's done it yet. So if we're just saying doing it from home, I'm sure someone's saying it in the locker room, but it's just I felt like in game 2, not really in game 1, but I felt like in game 2 we really got into the body and we really pressured them across half court. And you can't have bad offensive possessions against this team, because they're a run and gun Phoenix Suns, old school Mavericks style of team where they just want to get across half court and run pick and roll and dribble drive and penetrate and shoot. So tough team to defend because they're talented.
Yeah, and I just feel like, I mean, you got to stop the pick and roll, and you can't let Trae Young get into the paint. I mean, that just happened over and over and over again in this series. And I mean, it's just like, I think that was just really the deciding factor of everything. I mean, you saw it at the end of game 1, like Taj and Frank are so far up top. And, I just wish, like, if Taj stayed a little bit back, I mean, maybe, it would have either been just earning it at the line or, hopefully a stop.
Right, right. Yeah, make him make a jump shot, at some point. The guy, he went 10 for 28 in game 5. He's not completely lights out as a shooter. But, guys are, you don't want the team's best player to do well against you, but You have to have some type of one-on-one integrity. So the Knicks had none of that. So
Yeah.
they knew Reggie Bullock couldn't guard him. They knew Alec Burks couldn't guard him. They definitely knew Derrick Rose couldn't guard him. So they tried to time their helps on defense. They tried to time their hedges, but they had no shot. They had stretches where they were moving around. The thing with the Hawks, you make them work a 24-second shot clock, their shots become less efficient. They want their first look. And once you start to make them work for a second, third look, reverse the ball, move it around, they don't get a good shot. So it's about having that integrity. And you got to have you can't out hustle your foot speed. That's pretty much what happened with Reggie Bullock. The guy had a great season and hustled his ass off, against the other team's best player. But at a certain point, we saw this all year with Reggie Bullock, whether it was James Harden or even, the replacement roster with the Celtics. You can get a quick step on Reggie. Reggie can't out hustle his foot speed. So Reggie's more adept to guarding a 6'7", 6'8" kind of guard forward more than he is these smaller, penetrating guards.
Yeah. Would you want to keep Reggie Bullock for next season? I think I would.
I think Reggie will be the cheaper of the two between him and Alec Burks as far as addressing that backcourt. Reggie played a small forward position for us, but there's no real true 2 or 3 with RJ. I feel RJ could interchange between those two. I can't. I'm not in the mode of replacing the guys that 68 out of 72 games made me believe they could win. Like, I just can't, with the exception of the Bucks game out of the half and the Nuggets game early on. Those are the 2 blowouts that really stuck up in my mind. But with the exception of a few games, like even we lost to the Heat by like 12 or 14 points, but we lost to the Clippers by 12, 14. These guys are trying so hard. So I'm not there yet. Guys, our fan base was there in game 4. After game 4, they were ready to set the lineup and make roster moves. And I was like, guys, you got a game 5. I know this isn't the NHL, but like, you can come back in a series. You can at least flirt with it. I've seen it many times. So I wasn't ready to talk roster moves, but Reggie is if we can get him back on his 1-year option and let him, be a two-way kind of guy for us, sure, I'd bring him back. I don't want him to be my starter though. I feel like this is the NBA, and in this era, you can't have Reggie Bullock being your starter. But Reggie's a great glue guy for us, and he gave everything he had. And a lot of people point fun at him. He said, "We with the shits, and we'll see you in the A." But remember, Reggie was the guy who said that we're the Big 15. You know what I mean? Reggie was the guy who said that, and I feel like ever since that statement, we were wallowing around 500, and people were clowning us for being happy with a team of 500, and that was the point in time where Reggie said that, and also Austin Rivers said we're not a losing team at 5-8. So I like the idea of having a veteran in our team, but you saw in game 5 when we went to our youth, we played with a different energy. And this is a young man's sport, and it's really a test for Tibbs to ingratiate the younger players on his roster. We got 19 and 21 in the draft. We got Mitchell coming back. We got 3 young players with RJ, Obi, and Quickly. And I was saying this on Twitter and also in a previous interview with another station that, people are talking about the roster improvements, forgetting the inherent improvement we're going to get by having rotational guys and starters that are young players. RJ and the thing about RJ, Obi, and Quickly, they sacrificed their individual development this year to help what the team needed. IQ at the beginning of the year was a lightning rod on offense, scoring 20 points a game at some points. Remember the Portland game on the road against Portland? This guy was doing step back, mid-range shots. You know what I mean? He was, incredible. But, we acquired Rose, and he had to play 10, 12 minutes certain games. Obi came into this league. They said Obi was a run and gun, pick and roll, deadly scorer, was going to be an Amari Stoudemire kind of player. We didn't see that. And then what we saw was this guy was told to dribble handoff, go to the corner, dribble handoff, don't shoot. And he improved his defense, his one-on-one defense, and he rebounded like a banshee. He was all over the place, rebounding, running the floor, and guys weren't even finding Obi. So, and then with RJ is a one-on-one kind of bully kind of player, and he was also told go to the corner, and he was shooting those corner threes with confidence. So I feel like with an off season, these guys had no off season. I feel like we're just inherently going to be an improved roster with the guys we have, including Julius Randle, who's built on a learning curve.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, I say this all the time, like, you know, this season, it was so fun to watch like the ups and downs of all these young guys and their kind of like progression, you know, I mean, it was so fun just to see Obi's confidence just completely, you know, skyrocket with the addition of Derrick Rose and that whole series against the Hawks. I mean, you know, regular season, I mean, he wasn't getting that hyped up after catching a lob at MSG. You know, you bring back 15,000 people chanting Obi, Obi, Obi. Like, I mean, it was just so entertaining to watch. And I mean, you know, going back to
that's why they drafted him. That's why they drafted him.
Yeah, and you know, it was really interesting. Like, I feel like Randle was kind of playing like Obi Toppin's game, like the beginning of the season, like overpassing, forcing up shots. Like, it just like I just feel like he got in his head, you know, like
Well, Randle's the confusing part for me was we had teams throw us 2-3 zone earlier in the year, and once we identified our shooters and our shooters started to play with confidence, like quickly Bullock, you know, a big shooter with confidence. It changed the way that the 2-3 zone worked against us. It didn't really work. I was almost happy when they played 2-3 zone against us, especially when we had Rose and Quickly out there. It just didn't make sense to me. But teams continued to do it all the way through that Charlotte Hornets game at the end of the year. We didn't see any of that from the Hawks. You know, they pretty much triple teamed Julius Randle and gave him a look that he hadn't seen. My frustration with Julius is that after games 1 and 2, we're tied up at 1-1. You see, bro, like you're going north and south, you're collapsing that defense, you're getting a good look. You're not the most efficient passer to where 10 out of 10 times you're not going to turn the ball over, but you got to be aggressive. You know what I mean? And you can't try to be involved in a scoring play every time that the ball touches your hands on offense. Like sometimes when you're in a double team, the look is to pass out of the double team to the open man, not to pass to the guy that you think is going to get the open shot. So I felt like Randle was kind of obsessed with scoring, and he was obsessed with getting the assist and not obsessed with. All right. So, yeah, I felt like Julius was just too focused on being the impact player and not playing through the offense. And if you remember in game 5, there was a play early, I believe in the first quarter, where Julius identified he had no space. And he took a couple dribbles. He didn't have the space he wanted. He passed to Rose on the top of the key, and Rose ran a 2-man game, pick and roll, and it was a pick and pop. And Randle had a wide open 3 on top of the key and just hesitated. And then he started dancing with Gallo and then took a fadeaway, you know, 3-pointer. And it was just frustrating to watch that because it's like, dude, you ran the action, you collapsed the defense, you ran the action to get a good shot, and when you got the good shot, you deer in the headlights. So that technician style matchup that Nate McMillan threw him, Randle was not able to adjust to play within the flow of the game. He just wasn't there yet. And can he make that adjustment? It's possible. I just don't think he's that type of player. You know what I mean? He needs to be a scorer and he needs to be a threat, but he can't be like a true engine against a double triple team. You know, guys need to step up and be able to create their own shots. 40 minutes of Julius Randle going up against a double and triple team is not going to be a path to success for this team going forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, going back on Reggie Bullock and the Knicks, what was it like when they recognized the Knicks Set Anthem on Twitter?
Oh man. So when it's tough to really quantify how my feeling was, but I could tell you this: when Reggie Bullock retweeted the song, it almost had the feeling like everyone was going to retweet the song because they were on the road in Denver. And I was joking with my friends. I was like, is Reggie in the group chat right now sending this song? Is he chilling in the hotel? Like, yo, D Rose, come over here, check this out. But it never got to that level. But it poured over to every avenue, I feel, of this Knicks coverage and the Knicks Twitterverse and ESPN and MSG and all of the podcasts, and everybody showing love from people with 200 followers to 20,000 followers. And it was just unanimously met with a universal, we needed this. And, or just, people who really thought it was a accurate song. You know what I mean? So, I can't even put into words how dope that experience was, just to watch people enjoy something that I put together.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think the song really speaks true to, the energy that was this whole fan base throughout this entire season.
Right.
And I mean, it really spoke true, with the energy that was MSG during this entire playoff series. I mean,
right.
You get to MSG, you're not even in the building, and there's already freaking parades and chants, and it was crazy.
Well, in game 1, I went to the Hawks games 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Going through the tunnel to get to the concessions in game 1 was louder than any moment in games 3 and game 4 in Atlanta. And, it's nothing to take away from the city of Atlanta or the Atlanta diehard fans. But it's just different. That's pretty much what I learned from the series in terms of our fan base versus other fan bases and cities. It's just, we just have a different level of hunger and passion and knowledge and interest in the way we feel we can impact the game. And, hours before the game, people are chanting, "Let's go Knicks." When I was in Atlanta, there was maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 diehards per section. And the way I describe that is they're not reacting to the play. They're calling the play. Guys are like, move around. Don't shoot that. You know what I mean? In Atlanta, the consensus reaction was if someone hits a 3, I'm going to cheer. If they tell me to make noise, if they say defense, I'm going to say defense. It just, there's a certain level of passion that the Knicks fan has that, it's just, you'll get frustrated. I got frustrated trying to bring it out of the Atlanteans. I was trying to figure out, it felt like I was in another world because I was at game 1 and I was outside game 2, and the energy just wasn't the same. So yeah, man, it was a special time. And all I could say is, if that's the reaction to losing 4-1 in a playoff series, imagine what it would be in an NBA Finals atmosphere. Not saying that we're going to go to the NBA Finals anytime in the next year or even 2, because I'll take what I had after the last 20 years. A lot of people say 8 years. I say 20 years. The last 20 years has been dysfunction. And I'll take that. I'll take a 40-win season for the next year or 2 just to see normal basketball decisions, competitiveness, improvement, people representing the city, people representing the hustle of the city, people representing the grit. And I felt that was the biggest pleasure of watching this team in 2020, 2021.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, being inside the Garden, it's like, I agree with you on the lack of enthusiasm that Hawks fans kind of brought as well. I mean, a great example would be I was sitting with me and my friends and all these Knicks fans, and then there's 2 Hawks fans a couple rows, next to us. They're just, quietly eating, Trae Trae
I
Young's
got up
going off.
15 times. I got up 15 times. I counted in the first three quarters in the Hawks game in game 4. And it's like, it's just different, bro. Like think about that tunnel when you're walking into the Garden. When you're walking into State Farm Arena, it's a hype man on top of a radio truck, and people are kind of like, that's where they shot The Walking Dead in Atlanta, in
Yeah.
downtown Atlanta. That's what it's like. It's people droning along in their red shirts. And I don't want to take it away, because I learned a little something about Atlanta as far as how their city is constructed, and as far as people moving in from out of town, and people may not have grown up with Dominique Wilkins, or grown up with Jason Terry, or grown up with Paul Millsap or whatnot. The people are just moving there, and it could be something to do, or something that's hot, or something that's going on. But that's not what their city is known for. And there's the element of Southern hospitality that's involved as well. But I did identify a few diehard Atlanta Hawks fans, and they themselves have told me that they feel it's out of their control. They don't really enjoy it as much, and they tip the cap to the over the top action from the Knicks fans.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I remember watching your clip with those two Hawks fans, outside of MSG, and I mean,
Right.
you could really see that they're just kind of like, we respect the craziness, but we're just kind of gonna take, like a back seat to all of us and just kind of observe and watch. How did you get your start with Knicks Fan TV and being that beat reporter and getting all of those interviews?
So I started watching Knicks Fan TV during the pandemic, right before the season started, and I wanted, I just clicked Knicks while I was taking a shower, hit the YouTube, you know what I mean, I watched, the Jets channels, and I watched the Yankees channels, and I was like, let me tap into the Knicks. Season's about to start. I want some information, and I got plugged into Knicks Fan TV, and ever since we had a game against the Cavaliers in the preseason where we ran an all youth lineup. It was Quickly, Knox, Mitch, RJ, and Obi. Really, really interesting lineup. And we came back down 17 and actually placed a $10 bet on the Knicks down 17 in the beginning of the fourth, and I won $140 back for them to win. So I was tuned into Knicks Fan TV ever since then. It was CP and Jay Ellis, and then Ashley came on like 5 games in, and I just started calling in. And you got to understand, I'm 30 years old, and I grew up listening to WFAN radio 660, and I tried to call in as a kid, and I remember every time I would finally get through, I maybe got through once, and they told me, nah, we don't have kids on the show. And I just remember trying to call in years later, and I never could get in. And I was just like, wow, here's an opportunity to kind of live out my second childhood. You know what I mean? Like just calling in and talking about my favorite team. And I would always get in, and I would call, and I started calling in, and every night I feel like I called after the game. And it got to the point where, I put it in my bio. I was like diehard Knicks fan at Knicks Fan TV. And then I started using Twitter. I didn't even use Twitter. I'm an MC, I'm an artist. I have never used Twitter before this year like this. And I started, just interacting with the Knicks fans. And it got to a point where, you know what I mean, I was, I hit up CP, and I was like, yo, I'm here. I'm ready to go. So the last few games before the season ended, CP hit me up to help cover his documentary, which is going to be released soon on this season. And he was like, yo, see if you can get reactions from people outside the Garden, because CP got his reactions from his phone live on the YouTube channel. But we actually went out, me, my guy Angel, and my guy Darius, the last 3 home games to clinch that 4 seed. We had great footage, top quality camera footage. And then, I just told CP, like, I'm dedicated to it. Let's go. Let's keep the, and he identified that role, the street reporter role. and we just got great footage, great interactions, reactions from the fans, and people hit me up like, "Do you get paid?" And they're like, "Is this a paying thing?" And they just don't understand. Like, they don't understand like me being involved with that brand and me being attached to it, and people identifying myself as Knicks Fan TV is better than any change that I could be thrown my way. You know what I mean? I've been tapped into Knicks Fan TV as an affiliate, and people are hitting me up for interviews, for t-shirts. You know what I mean? My guy sent me this t-shirt just based off love. You know what I mean? So it's like 9 to 5, they can offer me a salary. Knicks Fan TV, I don't need any of that. This is what I love to do.
Yeah, and you know that's exactly why I hit you up. You know, on Twitter,
Yeah.
I posted that whole tweet about people that I'd love to come back and love to have on. And, you know, like
Right.
after being at all of those home games, you know, like I saw you, I saw CP at game 2, and we connected. And it's just like, I love what all of you guys are doing. And I'd love to, you know, just be a part of it in any way I can, you know, just having this, you know, like one-on-one experience and connection. And I just see the love that all of these fans are showing you and everybody over there. And I'm just like, you know,
Yeah, and they come up to me, and because I'm on the street, and there was one clip in the last video we dropped where somebody came during the interview and was like, "Yo, good stuff all year. We appreciate what you're doing." And I have to relay that back out to CP and Jay Ellis and Alex and CK and Ashley, and Dave and all the mods and in the Discord and in the YouTube chat, and even some of the callers. It's just being able to represent that and to take the blessing and the love and the energy from people. Like, it's not me. Like, it's really, it's headquarters. You know what I mean? Headquarters being, the people that are behind the scenes and taking the calls. Dave and CP. It's just being able to let them know, like, on the ground, like, people really appreciate what you guys are doing day in and day out, providing content and providing perspective, and what usually feels like a therapy session for Knicks fans turned into, a celebration. We won 41 games this year. So it was a lot of jubilation. It was a lot of excitement. I remember early on in the season, there was an episode of Knicks Fan TV where we said the P word because we didn't want to discuss playoffs, so we called it the P word. So, and then it was a constant battle. Do you want to jump out the window yet? Do you want to jump out the window? Do you want to say that this team can make the playoffs, can make the play-in, can make the 4 seed, can beat the Hawks, could advance in the to compete with Brooklyn? It was just a nonstop trajectory of jubilation and excitement from the fans.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just like, I feel like, we're all very similar, like on my show and everything that I, put out. I just always try to, stick with positive vibes only. That's mainly just kind of become my thing, because it's just like, I really respect what all of you guys are doing. I mean, we've been through some seasons where everybody jumped out the window, and, I love the people that real Knicks fans back in just with positivity and just, like reassurance. And, I feel like that's just what you and everybody at Knicks Fan TV is just doing,
Yeah, we have some fragmented pieces of our fan base. I feel like when it's going good, we're all together. When it's going bad, there's there's certain parts of our fan base that lacks the perspective piece. They just don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? They feel like adjustments could be made, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're a little bit over the top. I put out a poll about like the most annoying Knicks takes. One of them being trade Randall, free Kevin Knox, Damon Kawhi to the Knicks, and Austin Rivers. We should have kept Austin Rivers. There's a lot of toxic traits about being a Knicks fan, and you get sucked into it. I was screaming at the TV and Stout in the bar in Game 5. There was parts of that game where I felt like it wasn't a talent issue. It was just a basketball issue. We just weren't playing a representative game of who we are for the first 74 games of the year. I just felt like at a certain point we just got in our own head, and I was screaming at the stadium, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? Because it's part of being a Knicks fan. But we didn't boo. You know what I mean? You were there game 5. I couldn't hear, but I did hear at the end of the game, people were clapping. So
Yeah.
the consensus of the fan base is appreciative.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, if you look at my Instagram at Knicks Community, like there's a video that I posted of just we were right behind the Hawks bench, and which is the Knicks tunnel. I posted a video of just all of the players, walking back to the tunnel, and everybody is giving a standing ovation to all of these players. But I just think that just speaks to just how this season was overall. And there's also videos on my page of fans, screaming love towards Frank when they're leaving the arena. It's just like I just think no matter what you say about the season, you can't take away all the accomplishments that we've done this year.
It would be like leaving the casino up $2,000 and with a sad face. Like anytime you leave up, I can't leave the casino with $30. I'll just put it on roulette on a number and leave. You know what I mean? If I lose, I lose. But if you have $2,000, you leave the casino. You know what I mean? You leave, you tell your friends, I made $2,000, make them want to go. You know what I mean? Other people want this. The Orlando Magic want this season. The Cleveland Cavaliers want this season. The Sacramento Kings want this season. And that's where we were the past few years. We were in that doldrums kind of franchise, going nowhere, quicksand. And to make the 4th seed, come on. Home court.
Yeah.
A bright future.
Yeah, man, there's nothing like this season. And I guess just to wrap things up, I guess my final question is there going to be anything for Poppa Left in the future, more Knicks songs, just anything that you're going to be up to?
Yeah, it was funny. Like before I made the F. Trae Young song, I was right. I go through my process of walking, and I like to walk and listen to beats and try to, find different song concepts. And no matter what I was picking, I was like rapping. That's how I made F. Trae Young, because no matter what was in my head, my life came secondary to the Knicks. Like I couldn't write about anything that was going on in my life. So I was just rapping about the Knicks. So I feel like my guy was saying that, Jesse Itzler, Go New York, Go. That's the anthem. That's been the anthem for the last 25 years. And it's interesting. Jesse Itzler, he's a very influential dude, but he's also the Hawks owner. I think he's part owner, and he's also a Hawks fan. So I feel like it's time for Go New York, Go to live in a throwback. I think it's time for, much respect to the song, I don't think there'll ever be a better song, but I'm going to try to make it. So that would be my goal for the future, and obviously working together with KnicksFanTV and getting day-to-day content and being involved with the Knicks fans. I'm here with the biggest Knicks fan I know. Is Charlie Bass. This is the biggest Knicks fan I know ever. Number one. I ran into his arms and gave him a hug, slow motion, when we beat the Grizzlies in a road opener. Mike Miller, double OT. Mike Miller missed a shot at OT, and I ran into his arms and gave him a hug. This was during like the Marbury era. So yeah, man, we've been suffering for a long time. So I definitely will be involved going forward on a day-to-day impact. And you watch people, you're yourself, you have a channel, and you watch people with channels, and it's not necessarily that they make a living off of it, but they look like they enjoy what they do. So I feel like I'm in a space where I feel like, let me do that. I got coworkers hitting me up in the hallway like, you see the Knicks game last night? So it's cool to be recognized for your passion and something you love to do.
Yeah, man. And I mean, that's just why I brought you on today. I love everything that you're doing. I love all the songs and just everything, man. So, this was great. And I mean, just thank you so much for coming on today, Papa. And
Appreciate you, bro.
hopefully we'll do this again.
Yeah, definitely. Tap in anytime you want to talk Knicks. We got the draft coming up. We got to start looking at that draft. We got to start looking at our off season and what moves we're gonna do. And I would just say, man, like let's be normal. Let's be normal. This last year was normal, and in a world that wasn't normal, the Knicks were a normal team and a normal franchise. Let's relax on the Dame Kawhi moves. If they want to come here, let them force their way here. You know what I mean? But let's not be weirdos anymore. You know what I mean? Let's not gut our roster and start trying to acquire the dream team over here. We have a lot of assets and youth, and like I said, our team's going to get better inherently by guys growing up into their bodies and growing up into their skill set. So enjoy it, and don't try to match or improve upon what's organic. If we go 41 and 41 next year and struggle with injuries, accept it. You know what I mean? If we go 45 and 39 and it's not the improvement we want, you got to accept it. These are young players, and we should have an exciting young core to build upon for the future. So Leon Rose, do not listen to us. Do not listen to me, listen to you. Do not listen to the papers, do not listen to the media, do not listen to the psycho Knicks fans. Just build a normal organization. Let's have a sustainable winning culture. Let's have a sustainable winning franchise. Let's build a Jazz. Let's build a Spurs. Let's build, a Sixers. Let's build a normal franchise. We've been through enough. I don't want 1 or 2 good years. I want 20 years.
Yeah. And I think that's what every Knicks fan wants as well. But Papa, man, thank you so much for coming on, and this was great. And thank you so much for coming on, man.
Definitely, my guy. And anytime. And salute to all the Knicks fans. Salute to all the Knicks content creators. And enjoy the rest of the season. And season's never over. They said I don't want the season to end. And the season's never over when you're a Knicks fan. You're always looking for some piece of information. So stay tuned to the Knicks community.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Well, have a great rest of your day, man.
Peace.
Thanks.